The man, simply amazing, Chauncy, True Talon, is back with episode 7 of the Thank You, True Talon podcast. Today, happy Tekken Day. It's June 2nd, 2017. For those that have been listening, those know that I don't give a fuck about Tekken. So, no disrespect to the series. It's just something I can't get down. I like Virtual Fighter, but Tekken 7 has been released, guys. I hope everybody enjoyed themselves. I hope you called in work, took a personal day, screw school, and just played some Tekken for the day. You probably like, yo, he's not don't go to school and anything. Chelsea don't go to school. Well, get your education. Make sure you're on top of your toes like your shoes are off. But enjoy some good ass video games. It's just not more forte than attacking guys. So so last night, what was it, this week? I've been watching wrestling lately. The reason why is just I'm so busy. I just became a gym rat and found out the New Day is back and they have number one contenders to the SmackDown Tag Team titles ran by the Usos. Me, I'm not a fan of this. Like they just come back and get a title shot. I like both teams. I am very hyped about both teams. But it's like when to me the Usos versus the New Day is like Hulk Hogan versus Ultimate Warrior, face versus face. Yeah, the Usos are heels, but when the Usos came around, well, okay, when the New Day was gone, and the Usos, when they moved the New Day to to Raw, and the Usos became on SmackDown, they gave the Usos they became the quote unquote black team. Yeah, they're Samoans and all that, but they was like the hood favorite. For me, they was the hood favorite. And I really became a fan of them. They coming in rocking Air Force Ones. It looked like they're wearing stuff that they would normally wear outside of the wrestling arena. Like this is what they do. This is what they dress. They're away from their Samoan background. Even though they're not. They're not. They're not. It's. Let me put a good word. They're not being blackballed, but they've been, they typecast the team that have more energy. They want them to be more villainous, and how society look at black people who have not a dollar as letting them be gangsters and hood mentality, which was one of the reasons why the Nation of Domination worked so well. But they was a Nation of Domination. To my eyes, was a little late on because it came out on red, black, and green, 1990, what, 96, 97, and during that time, black people was moving away from the red, black, and green movement. They still, okay, you wasn't seeing it like in '91 with the red, black, and green movement. You know what I'm saying? Like red your blood, black your skin, green for your motherland. You didn't. It was done. You didn't see no music video with Heavy D dancing. You didn't see Mob D, Prodigy rocking that shit. You know what I'm saying? You didn't see nobody from Queensbridge. None of that shit after like '94. Like I feel, and like right now they have the Usos looking like Omar from The Wire and shit because they're so behind in times. Like they're just so behind in times and like wrestlers, and they typecast the group. And then you've got the New Day. I don't care what anybody else say. They're typecast also. But, I like them because they seem like people that you can hang out with, the hood legends. They people like, yo, they ain't hood legends. But I'm like, yo, they do everything that every black person, like most black people do. Most people don't understand. Black people watch anime because this generation love anime. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, we don't watch anime. I was like, yo, anime is this generation is it's like my dad's kung fu movies. They play video games. Most black people play video games and they read comics. And a lot of black people read comic books. They just don't let people know. But I'm not a big fan of them wrestling against each other. They didn't even have no matches, and they just give them a title shot. It just doesn't make sense to me. So what else I want to talk about? Oh yeah, I got my first question. First question to be answer, and it's from my it's a good friend Anthony Howard. He asked he asked how's gaming isn't important. No, his question is how gaming isn't about games no more. It's just resolution and dumb loyalty. Okay, I can see where you're going with that question. Anthony, this is how I look at it. Loyalty has been there ever since I was a kid. When people was, cause I'm 34, and I remember when people was moving away from Atari to Nintendo, and then when the Genesis and when Sega Masters came out in the United States and Nintendo came out, they had commercials and this and that. And then when Genesis dropped, Genesis had a big campaign where Genesis does and Nintendo don't, and it was pushing that they was 16-bit, where Nintendo was 8-bit, and then you had all the other consoles and stuff. Resolution, just being real with you, resolution is an important task on video games. A lot of people saying it's not. It's not about the graphics. It's about the gameplay. No, graphics is a huge factor because if it wasn't about graphics, we wouldn't be worrying about HDMI. We be playing RF switch modular, the shit that you put in the back of the TV. So loyalty is great for a company because that means that if you can swing people from one company to the next, that means that people will be playing their games. But if you can't, that means your shit is basically whack. Get your shit together. So I really do think loyalty has always been there to companies back when Intellivision and Atari and ColecoVision and all that stuff. But I think that people want to say that it's really tight today. No, back then, back in the 90s, it was rough, really rough, because it only knew a few people who had Neo Geos, like it was like less than a 5%, and all they did was talk shit. They say Neo Geo is the greatest system ever made, and I can go bring my stats over to the arcades, and that was I had the memory card on it. So graphics is a lot more important than most people think they want to say because if graphics wasn't important, we wouldn't get geeked over seeing the Superman logo and characters like female characters having full figures compared to having Lego blocks as tits. So that's how I see it. Uh, Last thing I want to talk about before I head off is a FGC story. I told somebody I'll tell a good FGC story, and I'll talk about the night. Yeah, I'll talk about the time. Okay, so a few years ago, I was part of a group called Grand Rapids Street Fighter Community, GRSF. It's still the great community. We was working. I'm still part of it. I helped build it from the ground up with Matt Mead, aka Slappy, and we're playing. We set up an event. JFAX. JFAX is a anime convention, Japanese anime fiction art expo. We did JFAX, the competitive side, because one year I went there and they wouldn't let. It was Marvel's Capcom. They had a bunch of bullshit rules where you couldn't play. You couldn't do certain things. You couldn't play as certain characters. You couldn't use arcade sticks. You couldn't do this. You couldn't do that. And I bitched about it after the tournament. And like I played a guy, like he beat me, and I said, "Hey, you want to play again?" I got an arcade stick, and he wouldn't play. And my line is all the times this. Most people don't understand. I use this line. An arcade stick is like a pair of Jordans. That don't mean I can shoot better, jump better, or dunk on your bitch ass just because I got a pair of shoes on. he still didn't want to play and everything. But that's how I look at an arcade stick. It's like a pair of Jordans. Nigga, if you can't shoot, jump, or dunk, that shit is worthless. You better use it as a fashion statement like my black ass. So, we run in JFAX the next year, and I think Tekken, Street Fighter Cross Tekken came, and Antwan Ortiz came out from the other state of the state. And yeah, this let me tell you the location of JFAX. JFAX was located at Grand Valley State University. That's in Allendale, Michigan. Antwan Ortiz was still living in Detroit. Him, uh, Shadow Fate, SRM Shadow Fate, SRM Gohan, and I'm gonna say who else? Leo. Yeah, Leo came. I can't think of Leo's last name. Leo came from the Blast Blue player, Guilty Gear player. He came down, and they all played. We know. And Antoine basically took our money, and they took our money and shit and had fun. And me and Antoine got second in Street Fighter Cross Tekken. We was called Pinky Stroke. That was the name of the group, and we lost to Street Fighter Cross Tekken players that love it to death. But anywho, they leaving they left Allendale. They used Grand Valley early after the tournament, and while we packing up, they went to got something to eat, and I'm talking to Brian James. Like I get home and I'm messaging Brian, say Brian James, aka Dynasty God. And I said, yo, man, Antoine y'all niggas just came down to take down Antoine. And Brian was like, yo, they got into an accident. I'm like, what? They got into an accident, bruh. For real? Where? And he's like, yo, Antoine got in an accident. He just called me up and shit. So I said, what's his number? He's like, call Antoine, see if he's all right. And I'm like, all right, give me the phone number. And I gave him the phone number. And I'm calling him. And he wouldn't pick up. Like, nobody was picking up. Like, they called like 8 times in a row. And Antoine didn't pick up. And I said, Brian, he ain't picking up. And he's like, yo, I'm talking to him right now. And so I was like, all right. So I called private. And he picks up and he's like, yo, what's up? And I said, yo, man, it's Chauncy. He's like, all right, yeah. We over here by this and this place around the corner. And I was like, yo, that's around the corner from me, So I told my girl, I was like, yo, Antoine got in an accident. He's like, word? She's like, where they at? And I was like, they're over here. And I was like, so we got in our cars. We went to go pick them up. And we get to the accident location and like their car is perfectly fine. Gohan is in the car and he's perfectly fine. Oh yeah, there was another guy in the car. I can't think of the white dude now. He was in the very back. And he's walking around acting like he had whiplash. And I don't know if he had whiplash or not, but his neck is jacked up. And he's talking about I'm in pain. I said, yo. And I said, yo, and me and my girl said, yo, I can stay so you can get your bounties up. And he was like, all right. And Gohan was like, nah. And Antoine was like, yo. He was like, man, that was you calling me. And I was like, yeah, that's you calling me. He was like, man, I didn't pick up because I didn't know the name on the thing. Mind you that my government name isn't Chauncy Talon, guys. It's a brand, it's a label, it's a motherfucking a Ponzi scheme. He seen my real name, and he was like, yo, I didn't know who the fuck that was, so I wasn't picking up the motherfucking phone. and then he was like, and then Leo was like, oh, for real, Chauncy ain't your name? Leo ain't my name either. And Antoine was like, what the fuck? He said, 2 people I trust have deceived me with fake-ass names? What the fuck's wrong with y'all? Y'all pro wrestlers? And I'm like, I did watch a lot of wrestling. And then he was like, oh, my God. So long story short, they end up being okay. Besides the guy that was in who say had whiplash, he went to the hospital and the thing was a-okay. But that's how that shit go. Yeah, Antoine was like the seed. He like every time I seen him, he always called me out with my real name because of that. But if you like what you if you like what you hear, just let me know if y'all want to hear more FGC stories. Cause I got a ton of them bitches, like a ton of FGC story. And it's your boy Chauncy T. Talon. This is the Thank You True Talent podcast, episode number 7. Happy Tekken 7 Day. And if you like, share, subscribe. If you want me to answer any type of question, send me a message on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. The name is CHAUNCYTOLON, or leave a message in the comments below. And I'm out. Hashtag that stroke life. Oh, delicious.